We saw like each of the leaders get kind of targeted in different ways and ultimately lose their groups. I want to take someone who's a threat, someone who's got some competition. I felt like in the last Fire 2 Open game, I could read him like a book. So I'm taking Rainier.
I get it. I led Team USA to a glorious fourth. I keep taking third in these things and having to trudge my way through qualifiers. It takes me multiple qualifiers. I'm the chump everybody wants to play against right now. The person I wanted to pick the most is still on the board. He actually, in his first dozen games, managed to score less than he started with. Juho literally had to delete those games from the record because they were messing with the data. So I'm going to pick Matt the Lesser.
FireX is the auto pick. So FireX will complete this group.
Okay. How's it going, everyone? Can everyone hear us? Can I get a thumbs up in the chat? I'm watching you guys, Danny and Lumen. If you guys can hear us, give us a thumbs up. Okay, guys. So we're coming at you with Fire 2 Open, Group C, Season 2, 2021. I'm honored to be here with Greg, or Green Rain, as he's let us know. And Greg, why don't you introduce yourself to the crowd and let us know about some of your TM history here?
Sure. I'll keep it quick. I mean, I got into the Snellman community, I'd say a few years back, and immediately got hooked into the tournament and have been playing the tournament for, I think, like 20 plus seasons. I'm not exactly sure which. Each season is about 2 months. That's a little over 3 years I've been doing the tour. I was in Division 1 for a few seasons, dropped back out, hovering in Division 2 right now. And that's sort of been where I've played the majority of my Terra Mystica.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad to be casting with you today and to pick your brain on some of the cool stuff that we'll see. I'm really excited. This is Group C, Group of Death. I mean, I unfortunately wasn't involved in the picks this year, but holy moly, how did this happen? It looks like I heard I was chatting with some people and heard that Barnwell picked Rainier first into the group. This has got to be the Group of Death. Like Green Rain, I know that you have some experience playing with some of them, especially Matt the Lesser. You want to talk to us a little bit about how strong this group is?
Yeah, I mean, I think the people listening know about Barnwell and Rainier and Brexit even more than I do. I have had the pleasure of playing at Barnwell a couple times in the last season, and then in a couple practice games leading up to this one. Ever since he won with the tall mermaids strategy, he's been sort of elevated in my estimation. I didn't think that was a thing. But I want to talk about Matt the Lesser. I'm pretty excited that I'm getting to cast this game because I feel kinship with him. I've literally never spoken with him, but I've played more games against him than anyone else because he is a real legend of the Snellman game. I mean, he's played over 500 games there. He's active in both the Tour and the Fire and Ice League, which is, I don't have time for anymore, but is an awesome league for folks looking for async play beyond the Tour. And he's really strong. We have a pretty even history in terms of our matchups. So looking forward to seeing how he translates to the live format.
Yeah, it's gonna be an absolutely fantastic show. I'm pretty fired up to see it. Okay, cool. So we've got Barnawal here on the preferred factions list and his little profile here. He's got the 2020 Hungry Hippo state finalist. I don't know if that's real or if that's just a troll. He says plays fourth in the Terra Mystica Tuesday League. So obviously Barnawal is part of the Premier League, which is pretty awesome. That's just the top level of Terra Mystica. That's just the top level that it gets, really. And we see both the black factions being his preferred faction. So Greenman, have you actually played a game with Barnawal before?
Yeah, I played against him 4 or 5 times, all in BGA. I don't think he's ever played a black faction against me, so I would have guessed that the blues would have showed up. I feel like he talks a big blue game, especially mermaids, but I haven't played. He's played many more games than I have, so.
Yeah, and so I mean, it'll be pretty exciting to see what he picks in there this game. We've got Rainier in here. He's got his former F2O head writer. Rainier is I want to take a second here and actually, I mean, there's so many people that are awesome in the community, but Rainier in particular, just what a fantastic part of the community. Makes wonderful, like one of the best streamers. He puts out lots and lots of Terra Mystica content, always so welcoming and so helpful to everyone that's in his stream. Also, I'm yeah, he probably doesn't know this, but he's like my go-to guy on Board Game Geek as well for anytime I want to buy a new game for the family, just because he writes these like beautiful descriptions of games and why they're good and why they're not good, and it's really cool. He should really promote that more. I don't know if he does, but it's fantastic stuff. Have you got to play a lot with Rainier?
Yeah, well, we headed off against each other in the second chance game last year, where I'm sorry, we headed against each other, not the second chance game, in the opening game last year, where I was lucky to come just ahead of his witches after a pretty bad Darkwing start. I noticed, I mean, obviously witches are associated with Rainier more than any factions associated with any other player, I think. So, I mean, I'm curious if you've played against them with Chaos Magicians or Swarmlings here before.
Oh, I've played lots with Rainier. Rainier and I have an epic game where I was Darklings against his CM, and we actually ended up tied. But he's just fantastic, kind of across all factions, and yeah, especially witches. It's really cool to see him do what he does and do what he does so well, especially on the Fire and Ice map. So hopefully we get to see it today. I'd be rooting for it just for the fans. Okay, I'm not gonna even talk on this one. I'm gonna pass this right over to you because it looks like you've got the maybe he's got the most you've got the most games with him as well as him having the most with you. So it'd be cool to really hear your analysis in on this one.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true. I mean, he's played a lot more games than I have, but yeah, I mean, Matt is just a really solid player. I was looking up his statistics on Snellman, and I'll just say the fact that I was most excited about is his greatest win percent has come with the Orin. I noticed they're not showing up here. I mean, he hasn't played that many games with the Orin, but they are his greatest win percent. So it's my hope that he's going to throw in Orin and just throw a curve to the whole game. Although I'm not sure that, I think witches are a big improvement over Orin on the Fire and Ice map specifically because of the witches stronghold, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm really excited to really just kind of watch the game and figure out how, like, who's gonna take which. Like the Fire and Ice map is so cutthroat with those like key hexes, and so it'll be really cool to see kind of how people prioritize, whether it be expansion or their economy and stuff like that. So it'll be cool to dive in and check that out.
Sure.
And last but not least, and I think we're going to have his profile shoot up here in just a second, but our last guy's Fire X, also known as Hubert. So Hubert, again, great part of the community, organizes the Fjords League. He's got this like, and I don't know if you know this, Greg, but he's got this like this reputation as being like the all-watching eye because he specs like every game. It's like he's always sitting at his computer and he just opens like every Terra Mystica tab and just like watches all of them. So he's watched my games like ever since I started playing, and I was like, who is this guy? Like, so he definitely has like a fantastic, a really, really fantastic history with the game, and it'll be really cool to see what he can do in this setup.
Sure. Yeah. You were telling me before we started about how he's a legit Scrabble champion. That's not made up like Barnwell's Hungry Hippos. I don't know if you want to speak to that.
That's pretty cool. So he's a legit Scrabble champion. That's amazing. I've played in a couple actually. I mean, for me, I played in a couple Scrabble tournaments myself, and my wife and I love playing Scrabble together. So it's a passion of mine. I'm definitely gonna have to hit him up if that's the case. That's really cool.
So looking at the preferred factions, these are factions I assume across all maps. So I don't know how much sort of read into these top three choices.
Yeah, I think it's just he's going to go ahead and be flexible, be dynamic. It looks like we've got some stream issues. I'm seeing in the chat that there's some substantial stream issues. So we apologize for that, guys. I know Bizzle is just absolutely trying to get this sorted out as much as he can in production, and he worked so hard on this. So hopefully these stream issues kind of just wrap up and we can get into the game and dive into some of that kind of stuff. So in the chat, just keep letting us know on the stream, and if and when we cut out, and we can go back over some of the main points. Okay. Cool, Greg. So what do you? I mean, again, this is the group of death, right? I mean, we're about to. I know we're about to get into. We're about to get into the games here, and we're gonna go a bit deeper. But I mean, when you see a group like this, or when you actually enter a game that has really, really strong opponents. So I mean, this is your perfect person to ask here, but Division 1 Snowman, like, do you prepare a little bit differently knowing that people are going to be a bit more accurate? Because I find sometimes, I'm playing in BGA Arena and I play a little bit differently when I kind of see that there are some, amateur players as opposed to like a really, really strong group. Like, does that come into effect for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the biggest difference is between sort of like top players and folks who are getting their bearings is map awareness and map control. And so usually going into a game with top players, and I totally agree, looks like if anything is the group of death this season, this is it. You want to think about what hexes really need and how quickly you can get to them without just sort of filling your economy in the process. So, you want to think about that with faction selection. Obviously, they're going to think about that a lot in the bidding. But you want to sort of figure out your connection, I think, much earlier on when you're in a game with top players than if you're in a more sort of casual game. So I'd say that would be the biggest difference for me.
Got it. And, we're just waiting on Bizzle here, but I think we can fire right into the game if all the players are ready. I would love to jump in. We're firing it up, guys? Okay. Okay, guys. Again, I'm so sorry. We're going through a little bit of stream difficulties here, a little bit of lag, but it looks like we're getting into the game here, and hopefully you guys can still hear us. I'm going to go ahead, and it looks like perfect. Bizzle, just let us know what's going on. But if it looks like we're jumping into the game, we've got Rainier in the first seat, and he insta put in witches. I don't even know if he looked really, to be honest, at the track or the bonus tiles, but. Greg, why don't you walk us through this setup? Because the setup is always one of the most fun parts of starting any Terra Mystica game. I absolutely love it. It's like, I think Zora said it's like unwrapping a present and finding out what you're going to get to play. But take us through it, Greg. Take us through the scoring tiles to start.
Scoring tiles, if you're seeing a very early town, there's some factions, like Nomads in particular, can potentially take advantage of that. You have a fair amount of scoring in the mid. The dwelling, trading post dwelling is very natural for developing your economy and scoring at the same time. So I think high economy factions are on balance going to do a little bit better. There's a lot of scoring available on the tracks. Obviously, a lot of, I guess I might have seen it. I don't remember having seen this. It's all the 4-value cult bonuses, all the colors, which means that, cultists are looking good here. Mermaids, always good on a Fire and Ice map already, but are looking good they can certainly get some useful bonuses in the mid rounds. And then if you look at the pass tiles, you have the big buildings pass tile. So that, again, is going to help factions that maybe want to start with a stronghold or maybe a sanctuary. You got shipping, again, good for mermaids in particular. Actually, you have all the scoring, all the VP bonus tiles as well. So this is a major economic faction game, and witches make a lot of sense. I see we have alchemists in there already. They make a lot of sense. Alchemists, I think, is probably who I'd want to play on this board, to be honest. Swarmlings make sense with the big building tile and the trading post tile.
Yeah.
There are just points galore here. So you don't need that many intrinsic faction points.
I couldn't agree more. It looks like it's going to be some fireworks. And so on the pass scrolls here, we're missing the spade, right? And so the fourth seat, I always think of the fourth seat being maybe a little bit less attractive, just marginally, when there's no spade there, because you don't get that bonus. You're missing the coins and the cult step, which I know for instance, like Zoras thinks is like one of the best pass tiles there is, but most people don't. And then we're missing a temp ship as well.
Temp ship
not being in, especially on this Fire and Ice map, is quite actually will change the opening strategies of quite a few factions here, because not having that temp ship means that there are a whole range of potential openings that just aren't available to the table. Talk to me a little bit about this Witches, Alchemist, Swarmling start, and what do we expect to see Matt the Lesser put in here? I mean, you're the guy that's got all the history with him. What are you thinking he's going to throw in?
And look, if it were me, I'd probably throw in Nomads. You mentioned the fourth seat. There's no spade, which means that big building pass tile becomes that much more appealing for a stronghold start. I'm interested. I guess we got Chaos Magicians, so chose something else.
There we go.
Chaos Magicians are also a good choice here, because there's no chance of them getting trapped in the middle. Basically, that yellow hex is completely safe. They have, or not completely, but almost completely safe.
Yeah.
Actually, they look good. They obviously are very good at getting cult bonuses. There will be competition from Swarmlings, maybe Alchemists on cults, but that's nothing like what you'd see with cultists, obviously. They can also take that Stronghold Sanctuary tile and get that Sanctuary in the middle and just get tons of leech out of it. So actually, that's a really strong faction in this setup. And and obviously no neighbors. I would have expected it, and it was the first one to be picked.
Yeah, and I would also say that one of the things that the chat is always asking us for, just always, is where do we think the auction's going to end, and who do we think wins the auction, who loses the auction? To me, like right off the bat here, CM looks the strongest by quite a margin. I wonder though, and just before we even dive into where we think the other guys kind of stand, do you think that the D7 start for Chaos is what you're looking for, or is it the E2 start?
I think you want the D7 start. You have a natural town going up to the northeast. E2 is a great hex as well. Don't get me wrong, but with these colors, I mean, there isn't even brown in the game, so you're not even going to be threatened cutting across the north and potentially coming around the bend that way if you can just get to 2 shipping early. One thing I don't like about the setup for Chaos Magicians is no temp ship, so requires a big commitment for shipping early in the game. But once they get to 2 ship, there's a reasonable chance that those red hexes are going to be untouched still.
No, and I totally get that. I mean, to me, one of the things I really like to do as a CM is start on E2, and then there's this, like, especially when you start temp ship and blue and black are in the game, you generally get enough leech where you can double dig that really key G6 hex and get down over to G7 right away. But without temp ship, I think E2 is a little bit less appealing in this matchup. I do think we see Rainier jump over. Yeah, we see Rainier jump over to the to Witches already, and FireX quickly follows him. So it looks like also production is letting us know that we can actually jump in here and do some drawings on the map,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
So here, I'm assuming I have a start there, but I guess you never know. Let's see. If you're witches, where are you going to start, do you think?
Yeah, I think as witches, I'm starting C4 and E4 here. I'm very comfortable with C4 and E4, and there's no yellow in the game that makes me want to start over on D3. You surround CM there. You know that Chaos Magicians is giving you that like kind of double leech party if they start in the middle, and if they don't, I think you're hoping that they start in the middle to give you that double leech party. But if they don't, I mean, you're still Swarmlings is almost always starting D6, and Alchemist is almost always starting E3, right? Like it's just the middle, like that central cluster is so key to the game.
It's almost certainly going to get filled in. And honestly, if Chaos Magicians don't start in the middle, then you get a big town to that center island, which is not such a bad backup option.
For sure, and it's actually, I find it very interesting when that red isn't taken in this particular matchup. It just in particular because sometimes as witches, and I know Rainier preaches this on his stream, he always wants the C4 sanctuary spot because he wants to make that bridge town up there, and he really doesn't like digging through the middle because I think he said before on stream, like why turn two towns into one town? And so it definitely is, I think for him in particular going to be a backup plan, just because I know he's talked about that so much. But if we look at the setup again here, who do you think the track is best for, Greg?
I think it's honestly best for everyone except Swarmlings, unless the Swarmling player plays a more, I'll say, traditional game before there was the tall Swarmling innovation. If you're Swarmlings, your whole strategy is based on scoring a bunch from bonus tiles, which that's here in this game, but you're also depending a little bit on other factions not getting massive scoring rounds to pass you by. So, right, I'm just looking at rounds 3, 4, and 5, and it's just such a natural surge of points for all the factions that are going to be doing a bunch of digging. So I'll say not Swarmlings. I don't know. I mean, witches, definitely good for witches. I think really good for Chaos Magicians as long as they can get their shipping up early enough. Round 3 is right around when they would naturally want to get to shipping and start hopping around, to this hex and then down to this hex. And who knows if those will be there, but I'm assuming they're grabbing this yellow. And so they can also potentially, potentially even grab that brown and then jump down to the red hexes down to the southeast. And round 3 is right around when you want to do that. Round 4, maybe you want to get another temple in, and then a couple of trading posts, and then you do another dwelling surge in round 5. I really like Chaos Magicians in this setup, I'll be honest. But I think Alchemists are obviously big economy factions too. So I have no doubt that they'll find a way to take advantage of the dwelling, trading post dwelling payout.
Yeah, so I find Alchemist is the ultimate glass cannon faction, just like without a doubt, right? They're always. I find sometimes in these games, I get into these situations where I always find I don't know if NerdCube is in the chat or not, but this guy always drives me crazy. I always find like I'm playing against this guy, and we've played quite a bit, and I'll think he does this with Alchemist to me more than anything else, where I think Alchemist is a 30 faction by a mile, and then all of a sudden it's round 2 and he started Temple 7 dwellings, and it's just GG because he's got a 20-point lead and starts Temple 7 dwellings. And this is I wonder if that's something that's possible here, where maybe Alchemist doesn't want to start Temple 7 dwellings, but maybe they start something where they can delay that into that into that third dwelling rush kind of round, and also already have a sanctuary up for water 1 going into round 4. Is that something that you see as possible here? Like, is that are these players going to get snake bit a little bit by Alchemists, or is that something where Alchemist is going to have, like, do you see a path for them in this scenario or not?
Is Alchemist it's interesting with this color matchup on this map. Normally you'd look at a game without brown and think, oh, this is great, but that's like original map thinking. The absence of brown isn't quite as beneficial, and honestly, the real problem is this center that you think that Alex really need to get to, because that's the biggest leech party in the opening of this game. Doesn't have any natural expansion. Reds are obviously terrible. There's a huge danger that Witch's Stronghold and grab the green hex right below you. What is that? DG6. And you're going to have to expand your shipping almost no matter what. You could put a dwelling in the this northwest spot. It blocks the mermaids. You get access to the top west of the map. And there are actually, you could potentially get 2 pretty doable towns up top. But the challenge is you have no neighbors there. I mean, maybe a Stronghold Witch is going to join you to get access to that easy witch town in the west. But unless they do that, you're going to end up hurting for leech a little bit. And Alchemists obviously can always VP for coins, but they can't afford to build all that many 6 VP temples. So.
No, I totally get that. And can you just throw on the map, the keys there, just for a second?
The what?
Just so that the viewers can also see just the map indexes or the map hexes. Okay.
I don't know how to
my
do
production's
that.
telling me it's okay. Production's telling me that we don't have map indexes. It's my apologies. I was just going to do it for the viewers, but I was kind of looking at this auction here and saying, I kind of think Chaos is the 10. Chaos is going to be around 10, Witches around 15, Swarmlings around 20, Alchemists around 30. But I also wonder now if and you know what? It looks like I'm lagging a little bit here because it looks like the game is starting and everything I just said was wrong. So. Okay, take us through. Okay, so Matt jumps over to Alchemist. So what do you see here, Greg? To me, this is early.
I think it was a little early.
What do you think?
I think Chaos could have been bid down further, to be honest. I think Frex comes out with a good, pretty hopeful starting point value here. No surprise, Rainier got his witches. And I'm very curious to see what Barnwell's going to do with Swarmlings. They were only bid down to 25. That's about where I would have had them. I think I would have had Chaos Magicians down 4 or 5 more points, which is maybe down a few more points as well.
Okay, so we think that on the margin, FireX won the auction. That's our initial assessment on the margin, but it's not like a blowout. It's pretty close.
I'd say it's not a blowout. But yeah, I mean, if I had to pick a player's position to have right now, I think I would pick Chaos Magicians. We'll see how the game progresses.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here again, because I know that, you've got this analytical mind, and, I'm just wondering where do we see the double dig landing? Because none of these 4 factions are natural diggers. We don't have giants. We don't have darklings in the game. We got a lot of spades on the cult. But as we know, in an economic kind of snowball type track like this, and I'll keep talking so you can consider it. I don't put you too much on the spot, but where do we see the double dig landing here? Is it just in the hands of Swarmling with that
really quickly, by the way? Oh no, never mind. I think who's getting the double spade? Let's see. I think big building tiles going to Chaos Magicians. Alchemists pick next. They're probably going to pick probably the Priest, I'm guessing, which means Swarmlings sit on worker and 3 power maybe. And that means that they're likely to get the double dig, and they're likely to be pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
Maybe Barnwell was thinking about that when he was bidding them a little bit, when he decided to end up with them. So.
Yeah, and I think that's the way that I see it as well. Although I do wonder if Alchemist starts worker power, and if that does change the equation. It's hard to really kind of map that kind of stuff out while we're chatting here on the cast. I'm sure someone in the chat already has a good sense. So we have a lot of strong players in the chat. I'm sure someone already has a good sense of where it is, but there we go.
Like I said, look at all that leech
with the D7 with the D7. Okay. So where is it? So is he starting? He's always starting Stronghold Sanctuary bonus, I imagine. I think everything else is probably a mistake based on where he's starting.
He already chose it.
Gotta be right. Perfect. Okay, so here we go. And then this to me, I mean, if I'm sitting in this seat here, I take worker power here. I take worker power here.
Interesting. You're hoping to get enough leech to steal it, but I just don't know what you're getting. I mean, maybe you're getting that yellow hex, I guess. But if you take the no, he took the priest, because then he can do the single dig, grab that blue up top, and gets access to 3 black
B3
into early going, and that's why he wants the priest, is for the shipping.
Yeah, makes sense. I like it, and it looks like Rainier goes ahead and opens with the priest power action, which I think makes a lot of sense.
That's also why Alchemist takes that priest, right? Because what if it's blocked?
Yeah. And honestly, I like the move from Rainier. It makes a lot of sense to me. It's kind of I think what I would have also started off with here. It's a strong move, strong player, and off to the races. Here we go, and we got FireX getting that D7, D7 great
that
start.
leech party has begun, and I do love the opening priest. He's going to get just a free spade out of that right off the bat, and tie down air.
Yeah, it's definitely, and I mean, the other thing too, I guess there is always the question is he upgrading shipping and taking G6 A6 here instead of that spade to air and going with, like, the way that I had seen this, and I could be wrong here, but the way that I had seen the priest opening was because he's on that 6 coin tile. I would have thought that he was opening air 2 into a ship advance. I think that's what that would be my plan with Witches. I don't know, just because it just looks like it's a game where air 2 is going to pay off with that extra spade. You get the shipping, you get down to G6, you get to A6. Although I think there's people
assuming
where there's this kind of like realm of thought where you don't necessarily want to invest in shipping if you're going to build that stronghold early. So perhaps I'm thinking about this entirely the wrong way. What do you think?
Well, I mean, normally, so this map is uniquely good for the Witch's Stronghold because there's so many sort of green hexes that are 3 river spots away that if you can grab them early, you don't need to worry about shipping until late in the game, and that gives you a boost to the rest of your economy. And so for that reason, a lot of players end up taking that early stronghold. It's basically to avoid having to spend all those priests and money to upgrade shipping. But I see I do actually see your point. He's on the 6 coins. He can take air 2, get his spade anyway, and there are 2 free hexes to be grabbed, and it's not that hard to then upgrade shipping again next turn and start moving west. I mean, immediately, what is it, F3? That's within 2. And then if he can dig F2, and then he can start up a Greentown over in the west, and the Alchemist will be super, they'll be a very willing neighbor. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see Rainier in the chat on stream kind of trolling the rest of the crowd here. Obviously, Barnwell starts with a double dig on D9, D11, and I think what the vast majority of of round ones here. He does that exact thing. So obviously Rainier knows that would happen. Just in case there's any people in the chat, or I know this stream generally attracts quite an experienced crowd, but for newer players in the crowd, Rainier is definitely just joking. He kind of knew that was going to happen. So what do we think here on FireX play? Are we just going straight down the path of Temple into a Sanctuary and nothing else this round, or do you see anything interesting that?
I think the path probably is best bet. I'm sure he's pretty sad not to, he'd love to get in, to be able to add a dwelling on top of his Sanctuary with the amount of power he's bringing in. But I think by the time he gets enough power to grab both Act 3 and Act 5, Alchemist will have grabbed that single spade to get their expansion in the Northwest.
I wonder if that's what he's thinking about right now. I think he's going to be in the tank here. I wonder if he's thinking about single digging C5 and maybe not building. Just for that possibility.
Because then it doesn't look like anyone else is going to be grabbing the workers. Maybe.
Exactly.
Well, Rainier, can he get enough leech? I don't think he would want to burn that much power, though, to have enough workers.
I don't
see that.
Yeah, I don't see it. I just wondered, and we see a 5 power priest air for FireX here.
Did not.
What a guy!
That.
With the here we go. Okay, you know what? I like it. One of the coolest things I think I've had the experience doing in my personal TM career is on the Team Canada, or in the international class, the finals. We threw a 5 power priest to Earth as nomads, and it was the teams. It was so exciting for us to do that. So I'm sure he's sitting there knowing that he's got a lot of his peers watching and just thinking, can I pull this 5 power priest air off and just roll with it? He's probably sitting there just smiling to himself. That's got to be part of it.
Clearly, Air 2 is on the menu for him. I'm assuming Earth 2 and Fire 1, probably, and then I guess Earth 1 for the 4th. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's got to be this. I don't think there's any reason at all to stray from that. To be completely frank with you, I think it's for sure going to be the. I think it's for sure going to be the three economic tiles and Earth 1. I'd be really surprised if it went on any other way. And the reason I particularly like this 5 power priest to air, generally I don't like the 5 power priest to air unless it gives you something really spectacular. But FireX is getting something spectacular, right? He's getting a round 2 spade. He's getting a round 2 spade. He is getting to advance on the air track, and he's going to have the power. And when you get a lot of power, when you get a lot of leech, one of the easiest ways to score under 100 in a game is to get tons of leech, accept tons of leech, and not do anything with the power actions, right? I think we've all been there before, where we've had these games where it's like, oh my god, I got so much leech and I still lost. How is that possible, right? There's still something to be said about making sure that you make efficient actions with your play. And while a 5 power priest may not seem that efficient, with what FireX is getting himself into here, it's certainly going to be. So
I think that was a good move I didn't see coming, so I'll count myself as impressed.
Definitely. And so it looks like Matt here has got kind of the dream Alchemist opening in a lot of a way, right? I mean, it looks like he's going to be able to start Temple 4 dwellings, perhaps. I don't know if he's going to have quite enough leech to do so, but it looks close.
Yeah, he'll be close. I'd say it's a pretty good start. The biggest problem for him is and will continue to be a lack of neighbors, especially since Rainier just upgraded shipping. That tells us he's probably planning now to do Air 2 Temple, which means that he's going to be slower to get to the west. And what alchemists want most is for the witches to zip over to the west as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So
Now, what are the key hexes? What are the key hexes that you're looking at this game kind of across the factions?
So for Chaos Magicians, obviously you need that town base centered around the stronghold, Bridgetown. Or actually, wait, no. He could just double dig the brown next to him and get a just nice sanctuary town there. That's probably better. And then maybe get a second town up top. I think he either needs to get one of these grays along the eastern river to get down to the reds, on the East River, or it's this B5 he just really needs to break into the middle. Otherwise, he's going to find himself a little bit isolated without much to do on those big dwelling grounds, which is I doubt that. Well, I guess this blue hex, what is it, F5? The blue hex on that center island, if the witches can beat swarmlings to that hex, they're going to get a beautiful town down the center island. So that would be pretty clutch for them to go along with this sanctuary town probably on top, and then a 5-dwelling town, essentially a fishhook town in the bottom island. And then swarmlings are probably going to, they certainly have that town just right where their dwelling cluster is. Probably a town up top. They're going to try to beat Chaos Magicians to that brown hex, and they have a pretty strong chance of doing so. They can connect those 2 blue hexes in the northeast.
Yep.
I'm not sure if they even go for a third town, or if they do. I guess if they can beat witches to this F5 hex is going to be a big race between witches and swarmlings to potentially get a 3-dig town going down that center island themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I think that F5 right now is shaping up to me to be extremely key. And if Chaos Magicians does wait around and not get to B5 early enough, Alchemists and Swarmlings both tend to upgrade their digs, right? So at some point in a game at this level, B5 and E2 are both going to get messed with. So I'm sure that Hubert knows that, and he's probably on his way. And you can see here, look at this.
Yeah, he has full power
in his pulls, just full power, getting ready to pass. Maybe I don't know for certain, but maybe he does open double dig on D8, right? His Cult Spade's going on to C5, so something that's certainly possible. I don't know if that's the line that I would necessarily take, because you really are going to want to spend a lot on shipping, and so maybe you're taking a coins action, but it's certainly something that is possible for him potentially to just get off the table and just double dig on D8. I think Rainier is certainly going to be wanting that double dig as well. Potentially on E5 and A5, something of that nature. Or, sometimes you can kind of, like you were saying, that fishhook town for witches, G6, H6, H5, right? Kind of around in that little hook there. But it'll be interesting to see kind of how the power actions go here and, what's happening. But it does look like FireX translates 3 of his coins. So double dig is very likely not on the table for him, or it's not something that he's that interested in.
Well, he does get 5 power income. That's not going to get him to 6 power. So I'm a little confused by that. I would have thought.
I imagine he's just signaling that he's taking coins, I think, right? There's no, rather than double dig, just for those shipping advances. I imagine that's his MO anyway. Yeah. I think it's interesting as well because I think in his best world, he finds the resources to get, and I don't know if this happens because I don't know if he is going to get the additional leech, but in his best world, he finds a way to get 2 priests and, the 10 coins, 2 priests, 10 coins, or 12 coins, and 2 workers gets him both the dwellings on C5 and B5, right? that would be something pretty spectacular if he was able to accomplish that. I don't know if he's going to get the extra leech that he needs to pull something like that off. And in either case, he can just put down the dwelling on A7. But it's certainly interesting to think about if he's able to get coins and priests.
Yeah, that would be sort of his ideal. The one thing about shipping is if he's I mean, he really wants to get one more hex or one more spot on the Earth track to get another dig. So he has a lot of uses for his right now. But I guess if you get
very fair.
Would be ideal.
Very fair. I mean, perhaps perhaps he's not going on a shipping adventure. Perhaps he's maybe he's first moving priest. I think it's a little bit odd for him to first action priest over first action coins, but maybe it's that valuable.
I mean, if he doesn't,
maybe
take
it is that valuable, or maybe he's setting up for. Yeah, maybe he's setting up for another 5-power priest actually, right? Maybe he throws priest to earth and then 5-power priest for shipping C5 and A7. Well, that's pretty compelling in a way, to be honest with you. It'd be pretty wild and pretty gutsy for him to do double 5-power priest to start, but I don't mind it. I don't hate it.
I'm not convinced he needs to do a 5-power priest. Who else is going to take the priest action?
Yeah, fair enough. So I mean, maybe he's throwing priest to earth and then hoping to wheel that priest then, right?
Yeah.
That might be the best. That might be the best move for him to do, or I guess hypothetically a little bit less risky is to advance shipping and then take a 2 spot on earth. Although that 3 spot is pretty tasty. That 3 spot is pretty tasty. And it does look like Matt got the leech he required to do this Temple 4 dwelling start. He has burned a 4 though, which signifies to me that he has a lot of early stronghold type lines in his mind, right? It generally, to me, is a little bit more acceptable to burn down early when you're advancing digs and into stronghold earlier. Do you agree with that?
I mean, he has to have a plan to advance his digging, or else he can't be burning down to 4 power. So the only sad thing is there's no way that he's going to get the full benefit of his stronghold if he does build it. Because he's going to max out at 8 power benefit. But maybe that's worth it now to get the extra worker going forward.
Yeah, and I think I wouldn't be that surprised to see him just straight up build the stronghold on C2 or B3 or A3 in round 2, and that's it, right? Like he'll build a dwelling here, and then he'll have 6 worker income, which is exactly what he needs. No coins to speak of, and maybe jump onto that shipping passing tile and advance ship once as well, and really use that alchemist ability.
He's probably grabbing that shipping because that's there he just took it. About Swarmling's game, Barnwell looks like he's just abandoning his stronghold. I mean, in theory, there is still space, but I don't see him doing quintuple dig the stronghold to get a town in that center.
No, and I think abandoned stronghold is kind of the meta here, right? For Swarmlings, it's relatively reasonable. Mm-hmm. The thing about Barnwell's game that kind of sucks so far is that he just has this like dearth of workers, right? He didn't get to pass on to that stronghold sanctuary bonus either time, which is always tough to deal with. And I always find Swarmlings without starting on stronghold sanctuary tile to be much harder to play. And I'm not an experienced Swarmling player by any means. I would say it's actually one of my worst factions. But do you agree with that assessment that just the lack of workers here is a little bit challenging potentially to accommodate for?
Yeah. I mean, the problem is just going to be a lot of competition probably for that tile, where there's at least from Chaos Magicians early goings, and he's already been shut out for 2 rounds so far. Did see that the Rainier opened with a Priest to water, which gives Barnwell time if he wants to advance shipping and grab F5 before Rainier has chance at opportunity to dig it. So I'm going to be very curious to see if he does that.
And I have a question for you, Greg. In Rainier's seat, what are you doing with your game plan here? Because I would be really tempted to go ahead and build a sanctuary on C4 for Earth 1, and also try to get a double dig out, and get F5 and A5 under my control. Does that look appealing to you, or is this something where that stronghold is just so powerful that you're looking to build a stronghold in this round, or altogether forget that you're on big building and the big building is just...
No, I don't think he needs the stronghold right now. He has plenty of natural expansion territory here. I think if I were him, I would give up maybe still build Earth 1, but give up the tempo, or give up 2 points just to get the tempo of getting onto E5, so that well, actually, never mind, because Barnwell just spent his priest on Earth, so I take it all back. So yeah, so maybe he does go for that sanctuary. He has time now, because Barnwell doesn't have a priest, to still go east, and grab E5 and maybe that top gray or something with the double dig.
Yeah, because you don't want to lose A5 to Chaos Magicians. I don't expect to lose A5 to Chaos Magicians, but certainly is kind of a disaster scenario, right? And of course, as we're talking about this, I'm falling in love with this sanctuary for Earth 1, take A5, F5 line, and Rainier goes ahead and builds a trading post on E4, which means that he's going for this stronghold. I think that's the only explanation, right? He's not double templing here, and leaving a trading post up there seems very bad. So does this look like stronghold to you from our main man Rainier?
Might be. He's the witch's expert, and I'm not. So it's not the choice I would have made. I would have I would still here do a temple and not a stronghold, and still do that natural expansion. Word, I think he still has enough, but far be it from me to question Rainier's stronghold push. I did say that strongholds are good on this map. I just think that the way this early game is played out, he's already connected once he gets E5 built. He doesn't have the same urgent need to connect or expand that witches often do when mermaids are in the game, because of the way the early game is played out.
Yeah, and maybe a tactical error from Rainier. It's so hard to criticize these guys. All 4 of them are just, we have these, I think all 4 of them have over 600 ratings, or maybe Matt doesn't, but he's mostly a Stallman player. They're all insane players. I do think though that Greg, you're spot on in that it doesn't look to me like the stronghold was as necessary as normal. That being said, it is an extremely economic track. I feel like securing Earth 1, heading into the dwelling round, securing that double dig, it seems really strong to me. Maybe that's a line that he's considered, but he also, Rainier has the fans to think about, right? To be honest, he's got the fans to think about. That's that. You know what I'm saying? I think part of him, even if he thought, I'm sure he thought through the line of Sanctuary for Earth 1, he's one of the best players in the world, just straight up. This is Fire 2 Open. It's competitive, but it's also, there's a big crowd watching, and Rainier is famous for econ witches. Could we blame him for taking this Air 2 into Stronghold path and just going all for it? It's hard to blame the guy. I kind of love him for it.
He may still get Earth 1 next round. It depends how much Barnwell wants to let him get away with. Barnwell could take Earth 1 on his next move. Looks like, by the way, Phyrexia Chaos Magicians did upgrade shipping, so they're definitely taking that top red hex.
Yep, and it does look like it does look, interestingly
Oh,
enough,
he just took the
like
single spade, Chris, not the double spade.
interesting. Interesting. He single spade A5. Is
it?
that and it's a prophylactic kind of move as well, because it looks like he also didn't build it, right? So, perhaps he's stalling for, I'm actually a
confused.
little
I
bit
mean,
lost
if
as to
he
what he's doing here. Greg,
if
help
he's
me,
building a
help me out
temple,
here, Greg.
that's fine, because then he still has enough. He's saving enough coins to build 2 dwellings, but that doesn't make any sense. Then he should have just built a sanctuary. Well, I guess we'll find out.
We will find out. I mean, this is
Sorry, I'm at a loss. I'm very interested to see what Rainier's next couple moves are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so awesome to follow this. It's so cool to see. I do think let's it's our job as casters. I know all these players are amazing, but it's our job as casters to be critical, right? And Alchemist did have an extremely slow round 2, but I see what his idea is here, right? All he did was upgrade digging and then pass, right? He upgraded digging and passed. And so obviously he's going to come into round 3 with 9 workers, with 2 priests, with no coins really, but he's going to upgrade dig again, and he's going to dig down some of these dwellings, right? Like that is. Are you seeing what I'm seeing here on his place? Because one of the things that is very interesting about this play, I generally advise people don't advance your digging as alchemist until you have the stronghold out, because it's so economically efficient. You get a coin every single time you dig. But in a game like this, on a map like this, maybe what Matt is saying is, like, I am to be feared now, right? With this advanced digging and chaos magicians actually, is B5 disappearing in round 3? Is B5 disappearing, right? Like, because maybe he looks and says, hey, it's really interesting here all of a sudden, where does B5 disappear? Does F3 disappear? Like, does he just put the put the screws to the table and wield this kind of alchemist digging power? And does he have enough? He's at 38. These other guys are 17, 17, 27. Does he have enough point cushion to kind of just mess around with the table, put down some dwellings in the dwelling round, build some trick TPs in the TP round, but make sure that the supposedly high scoring game becomes like kind of a low scoring, slugfest?
And I could see that doing, working wonders on Chaos Magicians, no question. I mean, he could really take down their score quite a bit. I don't really see him doing all that much damage to Swarmlings. I don't really see him doing all that much damage to, well, he could take some important green hexes from the Witches. An interesting. I do agree, though, that it's always sad if you're alchemist and you've upgraded your digging and you're going at it without that stronghold bonus. It just feels like so much lost potential. He did.
Yeah,
by the way,
I don't think
Rainier did build
he
did build the stronghold. I was intrigued by Barnwell. So Barnwell spent 3 power to get the priest. And I mean, he does get advanced shipping, and now he can grab that F5 that Rainier didn't tie up. So now Rainier's stronghold is looking really awkwardly placed. He's going to have to triple dig brown hex, which I don't think Witches are going to be particularly good at doing. In order to get a town out of that stronghold, otherwise it's just an abandoned stronghold.
Yeah, honestly,
why that
there's been some
so
weird
crucial.
stuff. Yeah, there's been, and we called that at the beginning of the round. F5 is going to be a race. Barnwell is taking it here. It makes Rainier's ceiling quite a bit lower than it was just a minute ago, and kind of where he was at after that pretty explosive round 1 start. The other thing too that I find very, very bizarre and Hubert went ahead and advanced shipping, didn't take A7, so didn't build A7, which I find, yeah. So Hubert doesn't build A7, and also he doesn't advance a single space on Earth Track either, when it was very possible for him to do so. I know he's got that coins action, which is, maybe it's fine, but wouldn't you rather be in a spot where you had even 7 less coins? It doesn't exactly work like that, right? Because the 7 coin action is really a 3 coin action. But you have a priest to Earth and then even 5 power priest advanced shipping, or otherwise, take wheel the priest and advanced shipping and put down C5 and A7 and have another dig coming in for B6. I am very underwhelmed by Hubert's decisions in this particular round. Don't quite understand them, because imagine CM's position if they're just on the 6th spot on Earth, on the 5 spot on air, very likely to win the fire call, having a dig incoming and just a few less coins, right? Like it just seems so substantially better.
I think he must feel point pressure is the only thing I can think of. There was no danger of, wait, did Barnwell? Oh man, Barnwell just passed without building F5, so I guess he still has an opportunity.
I don't understand that either. We're watching 4 of the best players, and I'm infamous for this.
They're probably
I hate a lot of this stuff. The chat gives me a hard time always about some of this stuff. I know I am. It's just God. Some of these I don't understand what's going on here. And it looks. We also see Rainier just drinking a beer here, which I mean, he's hoping here. I think he's hoping he can go ahead and just get F5 out before Barnwell goes ahead and takes that from him. But geez, man, there's a lot of suspect play in round 2. Maybe these players are a little bit nervous to be on this stage, but I see some suspect. Back me up here, okay? Because I'm known to go off the rails here. I saw some suspect play from all 4 of these guys. Really, I think literally all 4 of them. I thought there was some just honestly, it looked bizarre to me in this round 2 across the board.
I agree that it looks bizarre.
Let's talk about it here.
If I were Rainier, I definitely would have gotten that Earth 1 Sanctuary, moved east, and then done a double dig to build both F5 and. But so Barnwell actually is probably the only player whose round 2 I agree with, because it looks like what he did was make sure that he passed first. He wanted to build the dwelling in a dwelling VP round, or dwelling scoring round, and he knew that he would have the tempo on Rainier to grab that spot. So at least he took it. I feel like some order is restored to one of the players' decisions. And actually, Barnwell is going to have a fair amount of dwellings this round. But I'm just going to say, I agree with you. I find the decision not to build the dwelling on top for Hubert confusing. I found Rainier's strongholds and single dig confusing. But, we'll give them the opportunity to prove that it was the right choice all along.
Oh, and this is the thing. I've casted a few of these in my time now, and honestly, I get proved wrong quite a bit. I say this guy is terrible, or what a terrible play. I never say these guys are terrible. They're all fantastic players, but sometimes it's just like these crazy plays that I see, and then sometimes they end up coming to fruition. It's like, oh my goodness, like how far ahead were you thinking? Like what an incredible line. And honestly, like again, like all these players are good players. They're going to have good rounds. Barnwell is going to have a great round here. Rainier's going to have a great round here. FireX is going to advance shipping twice and then potentially put down A7, and I will E5, say, E2, G5, right? Like
that was the line that we talked about at the beginning is round 3 dwellings, advance ship to at least 2. It looks like he'll get to 3. And you can do that hook basically to the left and down as long as alchemists don't get in your way.
But the question is Alchemist getting in his way here? Like, is B5 about to disappear?
They do have They're
oh baby, because Hubert's got no way around it. He's got no way around it, right? If b5 disappears, or even if b5 just gets dug one away, what's Hubert doing here? His round goes from miraculously good to just
that is
absolute,
true.
it's dead.
So
Red
much
is
power
dead.
right now
Right?
to
CM dies.
kill
That's
us magicians.
But that's why Matt's suspect round 2. And again, I will say I think all 4 players had suspect round 2s. Mark it down, put it on a ledger for me. Like it was weird. But I think if Matt goes ahead and wields this power, I'm beginning to like that. Just advanced dig go
And
ahead,
I will say,
and that would show a lot of precision.
That advanced,
go ahead.
that stronghold looks a little better in an alchemist digging world, because he just used that witch's flight to grab F3, and alchemist totally could have grabbed that from him. So
yep.
Still don't think
100%.
it's great, because he
100%.
still has a stronghold sitting on a minimum 3 dig town.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not as
I
bad,
think
I guess.
Yeah, I think Rainier's misstep was just not necessarily seeing that Barnwell was going to beat him to F5 if he played the line that he did, right? If he goes ahead and just builds E5 and make sure that he wins that race to F5, I think we all love Rainier's game, right?
Yeah.
Imagine the game. Imagine the game board looks exactly the same except for Rainier's on F5 and maybe not on F3 yet, or maybe he's still on F3, but imagine he's just on F5.
Then I'm almost ready to give him the win. Well, then you just have to ask whether Matt is going to make life hard on B5. Because that's the other thing is, if Chaos Magicians are able to expand all the way down, then suddenly they're back into the favorite spot.
Oh yeah, I think Matt should bomb B5 here, like 100% of the time. It's the only way to justify round 2 of what he did, I think. And I think he doesn't need to bomb it. He doesn't need to triple dig it. I think maybe making it yellow, maybe making it brown. Making it brown, yeah. Making it brown is just what happens. Like it's just brutal for Hubert. Hubert just dies, just like one down. He can just sit there and just he has 3 of them just waiting there, like one down. It's just two more to go. And that's kind of this power of this early digging alchemists. And I'm sure Hubert is just sitting here like, I got this amazing deal on CM. I got this sanctuary out. I got this 5-power priest of air. I was an absolute stud about it. Oh, and Matt lets him off the hook.
That's targeting Rainier right there. Wow, that just made the witches town on bottom a lot more complicated.
Yeah, and that is I mean, we got
wow.
Fire X, the boy who get him. I think he's got those. Yeah, I think like it's like he's gonna get to advance ship again, pass for 9, get to E2 and G5 and A7 here. Like I guess to be fair to Matt, maybe Matt is the flop leg. For those that know poker, it's the flop leg. Maybe he's about to bomb E2 here, right? Maybe he's like, okay, you're gonna B5, but I'm bombing E2 because I'm gonna make this.
Oh yeah,
he would
town,
want right.
That is actually his only spot now to make use of that center temple.
Yeah, if that's his idea, and I wouldn't. Then I'll take back my outrage. But for now, if Fire X,
I feel bad for Matt.
I know he's
so
got
much
the round. Yeah, he's got the round glasses, so it's he's the boy who lives. Get him the Harry Potter glasses. The boy who lives. He's living in round 3 here. And I don't know. Honestly, I thought that he was in trouble. Now let's turn our attention to Alchemist here for a second, because and Alchemist is on the clock here in a big way.
Yeah. Okay.
And he goes ahead and he does it. Okay. And so Hubert's sigh of relief. he probably thought, I'm not gonna get messed with. And this makes his dream round so substantially worse, because he has no way. I don't think he's got a way to really get out of this. He needs to get some leech that I don't see coming to get that single dig on D4 now, and that's his kind of way out of it in this round. But if he only gets to put down 2 dwellings here
to get 2 power that way,
okay,
it's kind of a brutal, because then he has to burn down to 5. But it might be worth it just to like get something else. I mean, and then he's also giving up the ship advance and a ship VP.
No, he gives up the ship advance, and D4 is F2 is 3 away from D4, so he needs the ship advance and the single dig. If he can get just 2 power here, just 2 power, and then take the single dig, it would definitely be worth digging below 5, because you can advance the ship, get D4, F2, and A7, and then you're off to the races. But I don't think he's getting it.
I think he's just building up top, buying time, and seeing what happens. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense to me. Okay, so we've been jumping around here. Barnwall
more dwellings
hasn't built a sanctuary. Hasn't built the sanctuary yet. He's got more dwellings coming, but generally in this type of play style, we see the sanctuary come out for swarmlings a little bit earlier than this. So talk to me about, like, is he definitely building this in round 4, or is he perhaps waiting and building it right at the end?
He
for
just
that
lost the
round
big
6.
Although I think that was inevitable, because Ranier just passed
for the 3rd consecutive time.
He may go the whole game without getting it. It'll be the first 4 rounds he's not going to get it, and that tile is so crucial for your valuation of swarmlings.
100%.
He may build that sanctuary anyway.
I will say, yeah, and I think he's building the sanctuary in D10 as well, because the 2 key town looks mildly. How important does the 2 key town look to you? To me, it looks relatively important in this game, because the cult are going to be pretty wide open. I think it's super important given the way Phyrexian is started. So a trading post town is coming. Phyrexian may build a couple temples and close up a couple cults. I mean, Chaos Magicians can change town situation pretty quickly. But I do think that if Swarmlings can grab the 2 key town, that's pretty epic for them. They, especially if they can send 2 priests to water, they suddenly get double priest benefit. So they get 4 priests, which they would have enough priests to actually get that full benefit, and then they get 2 spades in the following round. And the 2 spade tile helps them pull that off. The 2 spade town, 2 cult town helps them pull that off. I think a sanctuary would be a strong play, just to like really reap the benefits of the next 2 cults. No, and I think you're right.
Although, hold on.
Do you know what's interesting here, though?
The priest cults are up right now, so we're only really talking about the spade bonus next round. That you get the advantage.
Just the spade bonus,
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, and no more guys. I wanted to turn our attention to the macro point of the game, because we're approaching the end of round 3 here. Okay, and so just from your expert analysis here, end of round 3, midway point. I know that the viewers always want to say who's ahead, who's behind, where do you rank them? Greg, I'll let you think through it for a second. I'll just talk a little bit about the macro game state while you're thinking through it. But when the game started, we said this is going to be a super high scoring game to the viewers, and I actually don't believe that's going to be true anymore. I think the winning score is going to be quite suppressed from where we originally thought it was going to be. The reason being is that you've got witches with their town cut off, CM not having the explosive growth that we thought they were going to have. Alchemists 100% have a nice, they're in a nice spot, but the biggest problem for Alchemists is that they have been converting like a madman, haven't put up that stronghold yet, and really need some of that coin income to hit their ceiling, right? Swarmlings has been messed with the least, which is very Swarmlings of them, but also haven't put up their sanctuary and did have a lot of worker problems. And worker problems, as everyone that's an expert at Terra Mystica knows, really stunt your economy. And so I think all 4 players have seen pretty substantial issues, again, paired with, perhaps very suspect round 2s, which I think are going to really suppress the final scores of the game. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Greg, now, because we're about to see FireX and we're about to see Barnwell pass, and then we'll be at the midpoint of the game. So what are you thinking? Where are you stack ranking our players right now?
I think in the midway point, I might put Alchemists have so many dwellings on this map right now, and they just got onto the dwelling pass bonus. I think Alchemists are a pretty good spot. They can mess with anyone they want, have all the workers to do it. Sure, they don't have that many coins, but they're about to go into a round where all their trading posts are basically free because they spend 3 victory points to build it, but they get 3 victory points back. Oh, and in fact, they won't even be free. They'll be worth 3 points because I'll bet he's about to grab Fire 1 here. I'm sorry, not Fire 1, Water 1. Not Fire 1.
Yeah,
that would be a terrible choice. Water 1 is what I meant. And so now his trading posts are worth 3 points, even with no coins. I'd say him. I do actually kind of like Swarmling's game. It's the potential 3 towns, but even if they don't do 3 towns, they have 2 towns easily. And almost most importantly of all, they're far away from the Alchemists. That seems to be, I would say, their biggest perk right now is that they're far away from where Alchemists are. Which is, no, Chaos Magicians can get, Inner just got Water 1. Just looking at who has the bonus. So Chaos Magicians just got locked out of Water 1, but amazingly, Earth 1 is still on the board. Both Barnwall and Rainier are letting it sit.
And I do wonder if I believe Rainier will perhaps take it this round in advance of the dwelling round 5. I don't know for sure if he will, because maybe he'll just prioritize going TP, E5, A6, F3, or flying over to D3 and making a TP there as well. I think making 3 TPs in this round is a good way to pay off that economy. And then perhaps from there, maybe making a temple first move of round 5 if Barnwall lets it fly. And I do think for Barnwall, Air 1 is probably better than Earth 1 because of his worker issues. And I think Earth 1 is better for Rainier. So maybe the 2 of them play nice here, and that's what ends up happening. I'm not 100% sure though. But for all of Rainier's, go ahead, Greg.
I was just saying it really comes down to how much Barnwall feels threatened by Rainier. I feel like Earth 1 is the right choice. You think that you're worried about which is running away with the massive dwelling round. Given how many dwellings they already have down, maybe you're not, because they're going to build another one this round. Sure. They may actually just their temple.
My guess would be that Rainier builds it 1 dwelling and 3 TPs would be my guess. Yeah, with his 7 workers and his 13 coins. Perhaps gets a little bit more, but I don't think so.
This is the time to cash in on trading post points. So
absolutely. And so here it looks like FireX is putting the question to Barnwall: do you want to take the 2 key town or not? Because if Barnwall doesn't take it here, it looks like FireX is going to go ahead and hard dig B6 to make sure that he gets it. Because I think this is Barnwell's last chance here at the Sanctuary, and I think he takes it. I'd be actually quite surprised if he didn't. For the 2 key town here, and the 2 key town puts a pretty good stranglehold on water and earth here for Barnwell. I think it's probably worth too much to pass up on, and building the Sanctuary now is
worried about. There's the 2 key town, and there's Air 1.
Yeah, and Air 1 to me is stronger than Earth 1 here for Swarmlings. It doesn't preclude him from building a temple for Earth 1 next round.
That's true.
It's just the fact of the matter is I think with players at this level of play, and Matt being very strong, and being out in the lead, it's hard to play against one single player, right? Really hard to play against one single player. And again, I think scores are going to be relatively suppressed, and because of that, my intuition is telling me that Swarmlings has a better game than maybe we think right now in some ways. Just because it looks to me like scores are going to be suppressed, and I don't know. Do you see 3 towns here for Witches, or is this a 2-town Witches game now? It's got to be a 2-town Witches game, right? I don't see 3 towns
there, especially because they're about to. That honestly, it's that F5 hex. If they had F5, it would be a 3-town game for Witches, no question. But
I think if Witches had F5, I would think that they would be way out in the lead right now. Yeah, I think so for sure. That's what it looks like to me. Again, it's hard to tell how the cults will shake out, and what Hubert is going to do here and all this kind of stuff. But Hubert also burned down below 6 and single dug D4 like we had suggested he may. But that didn't give him an extra dwelling in that round, which is why I thought it was really underwhelming. And he also threw a Priest of Fire, so advancing ship and getting more of that kind of that greedy point style of play. So
makes a lot of
honestly,
sense because you suddenly have access to 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes, and you get access to 6 hexes with a single dig. Hexes with 2 digs.
Sure, but he was in the previous round. He had the opportunity to advance ship instead of throwing Priest of Fire and getting those extra 3 points on the pass tile. I thought that was probably preferable.
I mean, he was on a ship pass tile. The question is whether he thought D4 was at risk. It seems like he thought D4 was at risk and wanted to grab it before it disappeared.
Fair enough. I mean, D4 now he's got this kind of spread.
I mean, D4 is his outpost.
This ability to spread out
to the map. Without D4, he doesn't do anything at all. So
F2, G5, I3, G7.
It's like 4 hexes.
I wonder if he
by themselves.
If I'm Hubert here, I'd probably go ahead and try and get away with putting a dwelling on G5 and then building 2 TPs on G5 and D4 so I can score them. That will leave me with still enough workers to go ahead and build out G7, F2, I3, and then with the right type of town that we get here on B6, build out B2 and B1 as well. And then I think he's back in the game if he can pull that off. If he can throw down a TP on G5, like dwelling TP on G5.
I'm keeping up with your your letters and numbers. Yes, really that makes sense.
Hexes. So sorry about that. Yeah. I think then all of a sudden he's back in the game because he's still going to do really well in cults. If he gets this explosive, like if he gets 3 TPs in this TP round, even without Water 1, and then can build 5 dwellings in the next round, I mean, all of a sudden he's rolling again. In my opinion,
the TP L, which is great for them.
Absolutely, yeah.
Things are looking pretty good.
And Barnwell playing very precise. Yep, playing very precise makes a lot of sense to me. I think Rainier here is going to build out another 2 TPs at least. Maybe he builds out all of them. Maybe he builds out all of them. That would be kind of very which makes sense to me as well.
I think he should build out.
It'd be a very Rainier thing to do. To build.
I mean, I don't think you're getting more than 2 towns. I think you can reasonably easily get 2 towns. It's not quite clear which town option you settle on, but there are a few out there. And so since you're not going to get 3, why not max out your track points?
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I will say though, witches
and
are not looking that great on cults. Oh, and alchemists are very low on cults. So it's a good thing to remember when you're looking at their scores that actually chaos magicians and swarmlings are sitting on an extra 10, 15 points each.
Yeah, no, 100%. And, you know, I think it's interesting because alchemists almost always, in my mind, like just win area, like win network. They're too economically strong. Rainier does what I would have gone ahead and done and builds out and throws both the priest to water. I didn't see this line though, where he gets to actually dig D2 here. That's pretty sharp. And he goes ahead and builds out 3 TPs here. I imagine this next one will go on D2. Very, very accurate, very, very accurate game plan from Rainier here. He gets his 3 TPs in. He's going to go into the dwelling round and build a ton of dwellings with some extra income here that he's going to pass on to. So, and he goes ahead and builds.
I did.
C1.
That's
Did you see that? He burned down his power for a worker.
It's the power of the alchemist.
Yeah, 100% the power of the alchemist. So for people again who are watching, I know again it's mostly an expert crowd, so this is not for you, but for some of those that are potentially newer to the game, Rainier did something very smart there. One, he took C1 so that he could throw his cult digs onto B1, but he actually had to burn down power for a single worker, which is one of the more inefficient ways that you can get a worker in the game. It's not preferable. But what he also did is he protected himself against potential aggression from Matt the Lesser on the C2 square there, on the C2 hex there, and taking C1 from him. So I thought that was quite precise from Rainier. And again, he gets those two digs and flies up the water cult. Wonderful round from Rainier there. Honestly, pulls it to a really good spot because he's going to be in contention to probably. I think he's beating Alchemist on network at the moment, right? Like if we look at Alchemist's economy here, it's not necessarily something to write home about. Are you with me?
No, I think
Green Rain, or am I
that's right,
Greg, or am I not seeing it correctly? Because he does have his digs advanced. It can be a little bit deceiving when digs are advanced because you actually have much more economic digs, so your economy is bigger than it looks. I don't know. What are you thinking here?
The thing for Alchemists actually is, I think they would have really loved to have C1 because they can start thinking about 2 towns up in the northwest and start dreaming about a 4-town game. Because that top yellow, and there's the A2 and A4 could easily make a town up top. And then if you get that green hex, you get a town in the far northwest, and there's obviously the start of a town on the bottom. And that could have sort of changed the equation for them. But now that Rainier's locked down the Witch's northwest town, I mean, they do have 3 towns coming still.
Yep.
Witches have 2 towns, and they have a similar number of points right now. And Alchemists are going to get 9 more points because they're on the ship tile.
Yeah, and we see that Rainier didn't build a temple for Earth 1 here, which I thought he would, because I thought he was building a temple no matter what, just to build out more stuff, right? And so I thought he was going to build temple for Earth 1, and so maybe he wants to pass quickly. I think the other problem, obviously, the other issue around some of the stuff is he's going to have the bridge pressure going into round 6, which is never a place that you necessarily want to be, right?
Yeah,
you see that as well. Yeah, he absolutely needs it. Makes it more appealing for him to pass early onto that big building tile to get the
and the nice thing about if he passes early, one of his competitors will get hurt. He doesn't know which one, but one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, it does kind of suck to pass early though in this dwelling round, because the dwelling round, this is where people are going to make up their points. Hubert is
Scoring a
scoring
ton
a
of points right
whole
now.
bunch of points here. He's putting down F2, I3, G7, G8, H9. I think maybe he goes ahead and, I think maybe he still in the bag has TP4 dwellings. I think he probably still has TP4 dwellings in the bag here, which is, I guess he's not scoring the water one TP, but he's putting down everything else, kind of spread out across the board. And so, he's going to start pulling ahead a little bit there. Barnawal is
he's
just doing
doing
some
very
swirling things.
things.
He's going to go ahead and very swirling things. Yeah, he's going to build B7 and A8, and maybe Barnawal builds Earth 1 here. I think that's pretty accurate. I in fact, he actually didn't. He just upgraded a TP on A10, but should Swarmlings not be building Earth 1 here with the temple?
And the question is, what are they going to do? Well, actually, I don't really think they should, because they're on a trading post tile and they have Air 1. So they're giving up literally 3 points just to get Earth 1 if they build it. You have to build at least 2 dwellings to get the payout, and you've changed your I guess you can always convert priests to workers, but they are sort of swimming in priests right now.
No, and you know what? Fair enough. Maybe that was too.
I'm just surprised that Rainier
too greedy.
I'm agreeing with you though that I would have thought that Rainier would have Earth 1, because he can get at least 3 or 4 dwellings, so that's 6 or 8 points in this round alone.
Yeah, and we see Matt here goes ahead and fire 2s for his 2 workers. What he is going to try and do here. Again, for I know we've got an expert contingent here, but for players that aren't necessarily as have played for quite as long as this is something that Matt is doing. He builds Fire 2 here as opposed to Air 1 or something like that, because what he believes is that this dwelling scoring round is so explosive and so point heavy that he's going to want to get these towns, the economic boost from the towns, in order to build more stuff in this round. Because dwelling scoring is so efficient, he's saying, hey, instead of building an Air 1 here or something like that, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to build Fire 2, get these towns, and then use those workers in order to score more in the dwelling round here, which is something that, Greg, do you often think about that? Like how much scoring there is in a round when you're deciding if you're going to town up early for economic towns or, for the higher point
And I
towns
do, although the
game?
one thing that's funny about his Fire 2 is he only has 1 dwelling build, and then he's going to have to build a trading post to build another dwelling anyway. So it kind of feels like he could have just built a trading post on D5, gotten the worker town that he wanted anyway, and then he has 2 dwellings to put on the board instead of just 1.
Yeah, he does have 2. He does have 2 dwellings left.
He does? Oh, I missed it. It's like, oh.
Yeah, that's okay.
Literally, my video is blocking it. So there are 2 dwellings left.
Yeah, and I do wonder if the reason he did it is because he's planning to double dig I4 and play I4, I5 here with his 2 dwellings and then take another worker down. I think that's it's a pretty interesting line here, and I think that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I can see that makes sense for Fire 2 here. Otherwise, like if you're not forming that second down here, then yeah, what are we doing here, right? We see that Rainier went ahead and did pass quite early. He doesn't take that explosive step in round 5, but he's passing to ensure that he gets that pass tile, and he is going to come into round 6 with 16 workers and 20 coins and almost a full set of power, right? So he's going to go ahead and build that bridge, and then I imagine that he is not building Fire 2 unless he thinks that he can have enough to advance digs and put down 3 towns. Do we think, is that in the cards here?
He's getting 1 priest.
It can't be, right? He would need 5 digs. he would need 5 digs on F4
Yeah.
G7 or D8 F4 something. Like, it would be pretty out there to expect that could happen, but I don't know. Maybe it.
Wait,
maybe it
I don't
can.
think. Wait, why would he need 5 digs?
He is going to have
He could
quite the
just
economy.
just go into the west. He has a town. Let's see. He would do 1 grade, 1 full upgrade. No, he could get a 3rd town if the alchemists don't mess with him in the southwest.
F1 G1 H2 I2.
Yeah.
He's got to. So he's got to build 5 power worth of stuff down there. That is pretty substantial. You think he's got the? I mean, maybe he does. Maybe he's
all
got
he
it.
needs
Maybe,
is if he builds the Fire 2 temple, then he's got a town up in the northwest, and he has 2 trading posts and 1 dwelling that's going to turn into 3 dwellings, and so he gets 3 dwellings and 2 trading posts, which is 5 points, and that's how he gets a town in the southwest.
I want to see it. I want to see it.
We'll see.
I want to see it. That would be cool. I would love it.
It would be pretty epic, but it's just like so trivial for the alchemist to destroy that plan. If Matt's paying any attention and has any workers to spare, which those are 2 big ifs, then I'd say the first one is not an if. He's going to be paying attention. But if he has workers to spare, all he does is he grabs this blue hex in the southwest, and the dream of the 3rd town is basically dead.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And it's funny here. We see the player cams. I got Rainier on the phone. Matt looks like he's got his wife or his girlfriend watching the game with him. Barnwall is just smiling uncontrollably. I think he's probably just ready to go ahead and pack it in here. But it's awesome to see these players in the player cam, and I wish we had Hubert on as well. But this has been a fantastic game.
It's been fun, yeah,
to watch, and I would love to see kind of how it kind of wraps up here. So, what do you see here from Alchemists, Swarmlings, and Chaos to wrap up round 3? Because it does look like Chaos has TP and Dwelling onto G7. It looks like Swarmlings is pretty much can do whatever they want to do. Probably a hard dig V7, maybe advanced digs one more time. They have quite a bit to do, and it's really going to be a stalling game, right? Because whoever passes first is out. This is
CMs are going to get
right?
forced
that's going to lose out.
Bonus tile. I think that's right, because alchemists spend all the time in the world. I mean, they literally can spend 4 turns on the bottom just focused on the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I. On I4 and I5, that's 4 turns right there. I just think Chaos Conditions, there's no way they last. But I think they got their explosive dwelling round. It was 2 rounds later than what they hoped. They're presumably going to grab G7.
Yep.
And they're sitting on, they're on the dwelling bonus round, so that's just a bunch of points. And they're meanwhile sitting not as pretty on the cults as you would expect, but of course, 1 temple can just change everything for Chaos Magicians. So,
yeah, no, I totally agree, and it does look like Chaos is still in a decent spot. It looks like Swarmlings is in a decent spot. It looks like Alchemist is a decent spot, and it's always hard for me to tell like how explosive this witch is going to be here in this last round, and are witches winning? Are witches winning network as well? Are they winning network here? It certainly looks like it to me.
Left on their board,
because it doesn't look like.
And Alchemists have that one. It has 8 things left on their board. I think witches may win network.
Yeah,
that's a lot of.
So witches are winning network
for the alchemist to build, and they're not going to have as many resources as witches.
Yeah, not even close. I do think that. I do think that Rainier's got network locked up, and I also think that I also think that he's winning water. Well, no, maybe Barnwell passes him on water because he can't really defend it, can he?
Oh,
I actually don't
honestly,
think
he's
he can
fire
defend it.
twoing. I mean, he could just take water two and defend it that way.
Yeah, fair enough. I suppose he doesn't need to fire two at all, really.
But
He would only
he's
need to
going for
fire
that
two
third
if
town.
if he
Yeah.
had the dreams of three towns. Yeah,
Uncapacitation just changed everything with the temple, as we thought. So they just locked up air.
which makes sense to me. And I imagine he's gonna trade some power for a worker here and build a TP to make sure that he's scoring that air one. Although no, he's on the dwelling tile, so perhaps
But
he
it's also
won't.
just free
Perhaps he
income.
won't. That's interesting.
Yeah. But then you're giving up 3 power for the priest. I don't know.
I do think my intuition tells me the more accurate play is to build the TP because of the income disparity and give up that. The TP is only 1 point on the air one, but it's 1 point and 2 coins.
Exactly,
and a power.
because that last dwelling is doing nothing for him anyway.
So it feels best or feels most accurate to me to build the TP. Although I think it's really close.
I think
in
either
case,
choice would be
very
likely,
likely.
Frankly.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're getting into the kind of the micro of the game, and
He's down to 18 seconds, so he probably feels a little pressure to just make a call.
Yeah, and he goes ahead and just tries to lock up fire, so he's not building that last TP, which again is totally fine.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any issue there. Looks like Barnwell is going to definitely be trying to stall. Barnwell is obviously much happier on that ship passing tile rather than the dwelling pass tile. And so I wonder how much Matt will give him a hard time with this stuff as well.
So, no, actually, he has a town income coming.
I think he does. Because of that. Yeah. So I wonder if Matt goes ahead and, makes Barnwell jump onto that dwelling scoring and then takes the TP pass
Barnwell
himself.
Doesn't care.
That'd be interesting.
Matt doesn't care between those. Yeah.
Matt's going to score the max on those in either case, very likely. And Barnwell, the dwelling is almost useless to him. So it's really like defending. It's almost like completely defending a pass tile. And if I was Matt, I think Swarmlings is very competitive. I would absolutely with me in a lot of ways, right? Because I have more points coming than they do in some ways, but they're ahead of me in a lot of other ways, right? And so I think it's a competitive match, and it looks to me like Matt stalling out really, really does deny Swarmlings a pass tile, because does Swarmlings even pass on to the dwelling scoring? I guess they do, because the other choices are so underwhelming anyway, but it's certainly not appealing in any way.
Totally agreed.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see here. And I wonder too if can Barnwell town up? I don't think he has.
I don't think he does either, because he's T's are maxed out. He's going to be 2 workers down, and there's no power to come.
Yeah, and so I think Matt just goes ahead and goes, dwelling, worker town,
Barnwell,
which justifies the fire too.
And Barnwell is stuck on a appealing
on nothing. Yeah.
It's not nothing. It's still a few points, but yeah, it's not the same as being on shipping.
Fair enough. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it might be a full 7 to 8 points less than shipping. So,
I disagree. I think
it definitely is going to hurt.
Oh no, because he doesn't have Earth 1, so what's the point? Yeah, it is going to be a lot less.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty big blow to his spirits there. Although, again, I don't know for sure what's going to happen, but I imagine for Fire 2 to make sense to me, this has to be a priest town or a worker town. I would think a worker town, because that makes sense. It allows him to expand his economy in ways that he otherwise wasn't going to be able to with the 2 workers here, right? Because he can build a TP and then another dwelling, which is really appealing to me, which is why I like the 2 workers here. I think
the second dwelling has to trump the... Absolutely. There it is, the 2 worker town.
Yeah, and that to me was why Fire 2 was quite an accurate play here, was because those 4 extra workers allowed him to do more stuff in this kind of this scoring round, right?
Absolutely.
So let's see here what Barnwell is thinking. Is Barnwell going to do a single dig somewhere? Is he just going to pass onto this dwelling scoring? Is he going to perhaps then beyond the dwelling scoring and then build Temple for Earth 1, right?
I mean, maybe, but
Because he's got the
the Swarmlings still basically lose points every time they build a dwelling, even if they have Earth 1, if they have to do any digging.
Well, it would be for 3 points though with the dwelling pass, right? Rather than 2.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Do they have any chance? No, I don't think they have any chance at any sort of. Oh, they have a chance at 6 points in network. To have advanced their digging, there are a lot of black and blue hexes in the south part of this map. I mean, Chaos Magicians, it's not clear how much more they're going to build. There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, they actually definitely should do that because they could probably snag 3rd place on network.
And I wonder here if Matt's going to take some time to really think and put TP on B3 or A3 to make this town more realistic. What do you think here, Greg? Because this is like, and we're getting a little bit more into the micro than we were earlier in the game, but to me here, a TP on B3 or A3 is probably more precise than the TP on C2. Would you agree with that?
How many workers does he have coming in? Yeah. I would probably just build. You're going to have to build a no neighbor trading post at some point. You may as well just do it now. Then if you don't, you can always build a neighbor trading post later if you decide you have that it makes sense for you're going to have one neighborless trading post no matter what. Well, he didn't do C2, but he went down at the very bottom.
Oh, he built it on I4. Interesting. Okay.
It's the same as C2. It's the same.
Which I guess is
He's not getting a bridge.
I do. Yeah, I did think B3 or A3 was more accurate, but maybe not. I mean, again, he goes ahead here and justifies his Fire 2, which makes a lot of sense. Builds the extra dwelling that he wouldn't otherwise have been able to, and he's going to pass for a lot and pass on to TP tile. And again, it's almost like only him and witches have these pass.
Oh, you know
right?
what? He's passing on to a TP
this is hard
tile, to do. So it makes sense he'd build down by the Chaos Magicians because he's going to build out his trading post anyway. So why not do it now?
He's building.
He's giving the leech when it's useless instead of when it's useful.
He's building, and he's going to build A4 or A3 or something like that on the TPs anyway. So I totally see it. It makes perfect sense. So who you got, Greg? Who you got? Because this is
hard to
tight,
call,
right? This is pretty tight. I mean, like, who you got? This is.
Do not know. I need to look at the Colts more closely here.
Like this is a tough one. It's a tough one. I mean,
I feel like I would go. I would have gone with Swarmlings except they ended up on a bad pass tile, but maybe Swarmlings. It's hard to judge how. I think to me, if witches get their town in the southwest, then it's witches. The alchemists block it. I mean, Rainier's 30 points roughly off everyone else. And sure, he's on a pass tile.
But he's
sitting on 2 towns.
But he's got network. He's going to win network. He's going to win network. He's sitting on 2 towns. Swarmlings is only sitting on 1. CM's not sitting on any, and Alchemist is sitting on 1. So, and his 2 towns come with the inherent scoring of witches, right? So really he's sitting on, substantially more points to come. right? Essentially, and he's sitting on a network win, sitting
He has
on some
reasonable cult points.
relatively profitable ship
water
advances.
is quite good.
I think he's going to end with 10 cult points. It would be my guess. I don't think he can defend water and then also pass Alchemist on Earth or anything like that. Like, I think he's ending on what he has. And so really, I to me, it looks like, where is CM ending is another question. Because CM is not scoring any of the TPs they build here. So they're probably building TP into a stronghold, I guess, just to score. And just because of their lack of the water one really hurting them here.
And there's no scoring for them here. Like I guess they could build a stronghold for 5 points, but they're not on a pass tile. They have good cults, but not spectacular cults. I mean, they're winning 2. That's great. They've already advanced their shipping. I mean, they could advance their digging twice. That's 6 points right there, roughly. But I don't see them getting anywhere near as many points as all the other players. I think, Alchemist took the fall and taking the fall and blocking E2 as sort of the death knell of the Chaos Magicians.
Yeah, and I also see a really hard time for scoring here from them as well. But while I see a hard time for them to score, I don't necessarily see enough for everyone else either. Like I don't see a whole lot coming in for Swarmlings here, for instance, right? Like, what's Swarmlings going to do? They're going to build a town and then pass,
and then
or potentially,
they're building a bunch of dwellings. Presumably, I mean, if they take Earth 2,
I wonder,
should take Earth 2.
Can Swarm Earth 1? You mean, right?
Right, Earth 1. I keep saying the wrong favored tile. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So Swarmlings. Is there any way Swarmlings can score 2 more towns here, or is that a complete pipe dream?
Get 3 from the town. There is not still a worker town. There's still a priest town. They do fire 2. That 1, 2, 4. It'd be hard. It'd be really hard because they need to build 2 temples and a trading post on top of all the dwellings they would need. I really don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either. And also, did you also see? So I don't understand this, but Matt built his TP on G4, and then it made me kind of think maybe he's just abandoning that town up in the north, and he's just going to put down more dwellings to be efficient about it. But then he did just double dig A4. So does this mean he's triple digging? Does this mean he's triple digging B4?
Now,
I don't understand.
Now he sort of has to.
You?
I would have. Well, and you can sort of see his calculation, right? I mean, he gets a trading post next to Chaos Magicians. It's banking a lot on no one taking that red hex. I mean, now if he builds a trading post, he doesn't have any dwellings left. So if he builds a trading post up at A4 and the Chaos Magicians say, fine, I'm grabbing B4. And no, they still have enough. They can build a temple and another trading post then. So he'll get his town no matter what.
Okay, got it. Okay, so that's quite accurate then. That's fine. Interestingly enough, so yeah, FireX goes ahead and advances dig. Rainier goes ahead and
because Alchemist
with the hard dig.
Such a tight margin on their town that now they're not going to have the workers to interfere with H2.
So this is the thing, though. Rainier didn't build Fire 2, right? He built he TP'd C1.
Oh,
so does he still have enough?
Can't.
No,
he cannot
right?
have enough. Can't imagine that. Well, 8. I mean, theoretically possible. dang, I'm not going to do math. We're not supposed to do math. I think it would I think it would be a stretch. But I mean, it's worth doing even if he's not going for the town, because he connects down to I2, and that's just another free hex for his network.
Okay, so look at this. We don't even know what we're talking about here, Greg, because Barnwell went ahead, and I thought maybe he would take, Fire 2 or Earth 1, and he just takes Fire 3. So is he Fire 3ing into Fire 2ing here? I don't understand it. Because he has no other way of unless he's just throwing these priests to fire and just saying, hey, Hubert, fire is mine. You literally can't move up it.
3 into Fire 2. Maybe, although
could that be what he's attempting here?
Could be. It certainly seems like he has no plans build. It seems like he doesn't have plans to do a big dwelling push in the south.
Well, I mean, the only thing that I can see making sense here is Fire 2 into Fire 3, or Fire 3 into Fire 2, and then build the last TP here. Just completely ignoring that dwelling tile, which is maybe perhaps the most accurate thing to do, and then advancing ship twice. I don't know either that, or he's just saying I'm throwing these priests to fire, because the Fire 3 is very underwhelming if he doesn't win fire. Right?
It's extremely underwhelming if he doesn't win fire.
Yeah, and so I suppose it's Fire 3 into Fire 2, which just shows you again.
I mean, it's got to be, because I mean, if he was planning on building even 2 dwellings this round, one would be a better choice. So
correct.
So it's got to be
correct. And I suppose I'm looking at it more closely, and it doesn't look like Hubert has any way to close out fire. The only way to close out fire would be if he's going to get a couple of leeches off that B5.
I mean,
and when he gets that
B5,
B5,
he only has 1 town, and it's not the double P town.
Fair enough. So he can't close it out.
So there's no rush anyway.
You're totally right. Yeah, and so I guess Barnwell is taking the priest town. I suppose would be best.
11-point town.
And no, he goes ahead and takes the 11-point town, which
more points.
Yeah, I was only thinking the priest town just because I was thinking maybe he doesn't build Fire 2, right? Like maybe he goes ahead and but maybe he has enough now to build maybe he just builds Temple TP, and that's what he wanted anyway. Like maybe that was what his game plan was all along. And he said, if I'm going to build 2 temples, I'm just going to build Fire 3, Fire 2.
Yeah.
And make sure that that's the way that it goes, and win.
And he can still
and just be my best self.
I mean, that's some points there. Round 6 stronghold.
And we see the rub here.
Actually, I should have thought of that, because you get 5 points from the stronghold
down. Yeah, 5 points from the stronghold. He goes ahead. It's really kind of like 7 points in a way too, because you're getting those 2 extra coins for Alchemist, which is interesting. And it's a little bit weird though, because I think he could have built. He could have been down to. Oh, I guess he can build. Never mind. He can build this last dwelling anyway, right? So he's still down to 14 structures either way. Although I don't know if the difference between 13 and 14 matters here or not. Perhaps it does, perhaps it doesn't. But Rainier has still got a town to score. He is building ostensibly a TP and then a dwelling, and advancing ship twice. I imagine he is really wants the priest town.
May get 3rd town. Because he still.
How do you see the 3rd town?
He gets the benefits of another. He could take the coin town from the top, which he hasn't scored the top yet, right?
Yeah.
Then There's Act 5.
So he temples.
5.
So he temples for fire. So he temples for fire too, right? He has to.
And then he has Act 5 and builds a dwelling on H2, and then he has more than enough to build 2 trading posts next to the G1 F1.
And then does he have enough for two shipping advances as well? I guess suppose one's a shipping town and one's.
If one's a
And does he have
coin
enough
town
for
and
another
a shipping town, I think he is maybe able to pull that off.
Well, that's certainly better than just one priest town. Like that's amazing if he can do it.
See if he can do it. I think he might. I think he was waiting to see if the alchemists were going to mess with him. Now that they have not messed with him.
If Rainier builds 3 towns here, I'll be in awe. I'll be so happy. I haven't done any of the calculations. Don't know if it's possible or not. But holy moly! Like if he upgrades a TP right here, if he just upgrades a TP on G1 here, I'd be so happy. Like just signaling that he, no matter what, is building another temple. That would be so cool. But he can't because Matt is building a last dwelling here no matter what, right? On H2. So he has to single dig H2 right now.
Yeah,
that's
risky because also even if he does it to green, Matt can still single dig it and then still he just uses his priest as the last worker and still gets his last dwelling.
So I suppose Rainier right now needs to advance ship then to stall one more time.
He needs to advance ship, stall. Exactly. He needs to stall and see what Matt does.
Because maybe Alchemist just doesn't see it, right? Maybe he doesn't in these games, sometimes it's hard to keep track of where everyone else is. So maybe he just builds H6, right? Or maybe he just builds F4. Or
but I don't know.
Like
even if you don't
A1,
even if you don't want to do the math,
C3.
if you're ambivalent between A1 and H2, you got to take H2 every single time, just in case.
But sometimes people look at that and say, "Oh, I would rather give him 1 free power rather than 2 for 1." I don't know. Like we've been talking about it the whole game. It's not necessarily that Matt necessarily sees that, right?
See.
But maybe he does, and maybe he's just going to take H2, and or maybe Rainier does something completely different that we don't even see yet either. So I wonder if he's trying to calculate.
I think that's why his time is dropping. He's trying to figure this all out. I haven't done the exact math, so I cannot guarantee that it's possible, but I believe my non-math math tells me that it's possible.
Got it. Yeah, so just go ahead and advance shipping and then roll from there. Okay, yeah. And that's fine. I mean, the reality is you can't bank on really strong players making mistakes.
And it would honestly,
you just can't.
It would be a mistake for Matt to leave H2 unattended if Rainier advanced ship.
Yep. Very fair. Very fair. And so Witches is winning network here. They're getting ostensibly
they're done with towns.
10 to 12.
They're getting 12 points off of past panels.
Yeah, 10 to 12 call points as well. Yeah, so I mean we're not Bizzle's the only thing that Bizzle outlaws around here.
We're not supposed to do math. I'm just saying I don't think
do the math, but
I think Chaos Magicians are last, but I think Swarmlings. My prediction is Swarmlings win without doing extensive math.
Got it. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh wait, no,
close.
because Swarmlings didn't. And I have to take it back because my plan for Swarmlings was to Earth 1 and build enough dwellings to beat Chaos Magicians for 3rd on network, and they didn't like that plan.
Nope. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, this looks just straight up close to me. I can't tell.
Great. I'm so excited. It's so close.
Fantastic. Yeah, it looks very, very it looks very, very close to me. To me it kind of looks like Witches or Swarmlings, but I don't know. Yeah, and honestly, I think that's pretty cool. Barnwell and Rainier are both incredible players. Barnwell, obviously, in the Premier League. Rainier just so strong. And what did Matt do here? Oh, he built a trading house at the end. Got it. So instead of building the dwelling, he built the trading house because the extra network wasn't going to matter. And Rainier in chat says, "Dang, I thought that's what you were doing, but couldn't tell." So Rainier did see it. So there must be.
Yeah.
There must have been the town there.
I think the
Wouldn't have said
town.
that
I think
if
the town,
the town wasn't there. So yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. And who knows? I mean, I don't know where we're gonna land, but it looks like Rainier doesn't need to build this last dwelling then, which is actually good for his points as well. Doesn't need to build this last dwelling. Going to win network on 14. He can go ahead and advance ship, and then maybe does he have an advanced ship and an advanced dig in him? Or I suppose maybe just priest to air, priest to earth is just as important in different ways as well. But he's got an advanced ship, and then and that's pretty much all she wrote, right? So no way for him to make a huge push up any other call or for that to make any sense, really. So it's really just putting the polish on everything else and seeing what makes the most sense. I think Barnwell is looking here and seeing what makes the most sense. Exactly. I think he's trying to figure out if there's any way he can do anything here.
I think he figured it was like Rainier was going to defend that. So
exactly, and I think does a 5 power priest with 4 coins worth the 3 points? It's a wash anyway for the ship advance. So the ship advance was a wash, and it looks like he goes ahead and does the pass, which makes sense. Matt's going to pass, and then really here it's just technical. What makes the most sense for Rainier? Certainly 1 ship advance. I imagine with workers, and then a priest is either used for a dig advance here. A dig advance must be best because he's got the exact stuff for it. Unless he thinks that priest to air makes more sense. Can he priest to air and take away what he? It's just he just takes away 1 from Swarmlings and gives himself 1. I think the dig advance has to be better, right?
Dig advance makes him 4 points. It was the very clear choice. Which he made.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. I was literally just looking at it because it's not like he's leapfrogging Barnwell. He's just breaking.
And now it looks like witches. Well, we won't spoil the magic. We'll let the magic play out.
Here we go. Looking close. Yeah. What a game. Honestly, for elite players, incredible stuff to watch, as always. Really, really cool. It would have been really cool to see Rainier make that 3rd town. I think obviously scores were depressed here as we kind of expected. Like we're not seeing anything up in the 150s or anything like that. There's a lot of strong players battling it out really against one another, right? So really, really cool stuff. Was there anything in the game that stood out to you in particular?
Well, I mean, to me, I think I really liked that Alchemists had a sort of rough start, and they didn't come out with a win out of it, but they came pretty close. And by the way, witches officially have won, so congratulations to Rainier.
Yeah, and again, at the end, it wasn't all that close.
And in the end, he pulled out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and sorry, I said 11 points, but of course Barnwell had his. So it was quite close. Yeah, it was quite close. Of course, I was just looking at him and saying, "Oh, it wasn't as close as I thought." Well, what's going on here? But and do we, Bizzle, do we get Rainier on the phone here quickly? Is that possible for us to do a quick winners interview before we wrap it up?
I think we're supposed to, but I think. Yeah.
Honestly, I see. This Rainier obviously showing his pedigree here, right? he's one of the best players in the world, straight up. He has hit that #1 rating on BGA before. He's been the #1 ELO player, in the world, and is certainly someone that I really enjoy watching and learning from, and just incredible stuff. I think we're gonna have to do a quick interview though, because I know that Rainier is a big Bucks fan. I think he lives in Wisconsin, so he's gonna be wanting to run off to this playoff game
on a shirt right now.
Yeah, I know he is giving us a hard time about the intro. So as soon as Bizzle connects us, we'll go ahead and chat with Rainier and get a great winners interview. But showing his pedigree, which is on.
I have a lot of respect that he had the resilience to come back. He had a really strong, very opening round, and then in the second round with that F5 block, his whole economy or his whole town structure suddenly came under question, and finding the resources to make it out west and get that second town, and really hitting the round scoring tiles at the right time and doing it all without Earth 1, which was sitting there the entire game. I'm so interested to learn about all of the times when you could have taken Earth 1 and didn't, especially going into 2 dwelling scoring rounds.
Yeah. Oh, I certainly, it's crazy because I would have played the game so differently than Rainier, and he's a better player than me, straight up, right? So it's really cool to watch this kind of stuff happen. And Rainier, my friend.
Oh my gosh, I'm on the other side of one of these things.
You won.
Yes, Rainier, how you doing, buddy? We're so excited to see you. Yeah. Can we get you on vid here? We want to see the Bucks.
Yeah. We'll see if we can get the double win tonight. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So big econ witches, showing your pedigree, classic Rainier. I'm gonna let Greg ask you just a question or two to start off, because what a show.
I just want just really well done. When that F5 spot was blocked in the second round, we were both very worried for your game because we knew suddenly that stronghold was stranded. But just huge props for coming back and figuring out a path to a 2-town win. I think my question is a multi-part question, which is every single time that you had a trading post and at least 5 coins and 2 workers, why did you not take Earth 1?
Because Earth 1 is for chumps is the easy answer. It was a really tough decision the whole game. I agree. Right? I had so many chances at Earth 1. I was debating it, and it never felt that right. But it probably was. The truth is, I didn't give. You suggest that I settled for a 2-town game plan much sooner than I actually did, which is all.
No. Please do not misunderstand the question. We were talking.
Yeah, Greg was calling.
I was convinced you were going for that 3rd town, but I actually thought if you had waited. Well, okay. We'll get to the 3rd town. I just want to understand why you didn't take
the reason is because I still had 3-town dreams.
The 3rd town, because we were doing some illegal math in round 6 and thought that you had the resources for it with Fire 2. And obviously H2 was at risk. And so the question is, why did you not advance shipping to 3rd place and wait one more round to see what Matt was going to do with his workers before committing to the 2-town strategy?
FireX also had a worker and fully advanced digging, so it was so risky. If he pays attention to what I'm doing and costs me an extra dig, I can't do it. So, I never had I just couldn't figure out the timing in that final round where it was fully safe. And I obviously wanted to. I wanted that 3rd town so bad it was there. I also thought I kind of needed it. I was trying to do constant calculations where everybody was. The truth is, I think Barnawal saved me. Barnawal, if he just opens that round with Water 3 and takes the Water Cult instead of Fire Cult, I couldn't respond. And I think that's enough of a swing between the two of us Or maybe we tie. I'm not sure, but like that was going to be really. That was where it was going to really push me to needing the third town. When he didn't do that, I had a little leeway in my calculations where I thought I was ahead even with 2 towns.
Right. Yeah,
you might have seen me press the little "I want to think" button a couple times if you're on BGA, because I was trying to run the full calcs to figure if I had to commit to the third town or not.
So Greg was all over that third town with you. I didn't think it was possible.
I was very excited about it.
I was, in any case, I mean, what a, Rainer, I know you want to get to the Bucks
there
game.
without disruption, but yeah.
I know you want to get to the Bucks game, so we'll let you go pretty quickly. But I mean, man, what a show! Doing it for the fans. Honestly, we thought if you would go back and watch the VOD, I was a little rowdy in round 2 because I said I thought everyone played round 2 terribly. And you can go back and watch it, but I thought Sanctuary and Earth blah blah blah, and I was like, you know what though, I got to give Rainier a break because he's got fans and he's got to go big econ witches, so he's got to do it for the.
The Earth one line might have just been as good. I agree. I seriously thought about it as well, but my instincts are obviously to just go wacky, and so yeah, air 2 into Stronghold and figure it out from there. That's the life, everybody. No, I was pretty happy out of auction. Honestly, I like as much as it is a meme. I still maintain that most people underbid witches on Fire and Ice. I was in first seed. I don't love that, but I looked at the setup. I'm like, is there a good reason not to pick witches? Nope. There it was. So
yeah, we saw that you had picked witches before we even brought the game up on the cast. So it was we knew it was an insta pick, but yeah, dude, thank you so much.
It was a 10-second pick, but yeah.
Thank you so much for the for the game. I mean, I think a lot of people were cheering for you to move forward in the competition, and see a big name in there, a big streamer in there. So it's really cool to see some moving on, and best of luck in the next round. Anything else you want to say before we let you go?
No, except future people just bid witches a little more. They're very good on this map. No, also yeah, just. Thanks so much. I'm thrilled. Yeah, I really am thrilled to be on this side. It's been a little struggle of my F2O career. This is one thing I haven't really notched, so I'm very excited to finally make actual semifinals.
Amazing
Congratulations.
stuff. Well, good luck. Best of luck.
Good luck when you get there.
Yeah, go Bucks, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Go Bucks. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.